Calm down. It's not that kind of show. Oh, never mind, yeah, it is. Hi, boys. I'm gonna be distracted this entire panel, so I'm like, yeah, what do you say? Do you like a couple more squeezies? You can have these. You got this. Fine. Hi, everybody. Hi. You need better than that. Come on. Hi, everybody. Hi. Well done. Next time, do that the first time. No, I'm not. I'm not qualified to be anybody's real mom. So hi, and welcome to my Q&A, my family-friendly Q&A, for those of you that were around last night for the unfamily-friendly. I should say it's only friendly to certain kinds of families. We will not discuss any of those things here. I mean, no one that went last night actually just made that noise. Everyone else is like going, oh yeah, no, we won't, Tatum, it's fine. Those are just the people that didn't get to go. They're like, oh, but you'll get to go one day when you're older. I was just commenting like last night, and I'm like, I have some of you people I recognize when you couldn't come to these things. I just watched you grow up. How weird. So thanks for coming. This is just my Q&A. How many people have been to a Q&A of mine before? Show of hands. Okay, a fair amount of you. All right. Well, so I like to lay down a couple of rules before we get started, just to kind of keep things nice and light. Please do not ask me to call your friend. If you try to give me a phone to call somebody, I will throw it out the window. Nothing else. Don't give me your friend's phone either. That's not fair. But like, I know you're trying to be a good friend, brother, sister, whatever, but it's like nothing halts a panel like me sitting up here in front of all of you going, hang on, it's ringing for the 8th time. And then all they go is, oh, ah, and they scream, or they don't know who I am, which is even more awkward. Who are you? You sound like, oh my God. Like, true story, someone gave me their phone to talk to their friend once, and I did the Sebastian voice for them, and I guess it was unclear. Their friend didn't tell them they were actually talking to me. They just said, I guess they just thought they were talking to some guy that could do the Sebastian voice. And all I heard was like, wow, you're good. They should get you to do it instead of that other guy. So I just handed the phone back. I'm like, well, that went well. So no, nothing like that. Don't ask me to sign stuff because I just want to sit up here and be lazy, and autograph signing there another time. Like, I think there's one tomorrow. I have one tomorrow, in fact. I don't, never mind, you're screwed. So, but maybe hit me up after the 18 up panel tonight. If you're not over 18, well, then you're still screwed. So this is all you get. I'm so mean. I do tend to get a little sassy, so please don't take it personally if I'm like, hey, you, that's just my personality. It's me, it's not you, it's me. The mic's gonna take me out. Also, for those of you that have, whether you've actually been to a panel of mine before or you've watched one on YouTube or something, because there's a few of them that have been posted over the years, all I ask is that you keep the questions fresh and creative. Like, we all know what my favorite this, that, the other is, and I honestly don't like the favorites question. That's kind of a big point for me. Like, if you ask me, like, who's my favorite character, that fills me with dread and anxiety because they're all my children, and they're all in my head constantly. And if I give you like, oh, well, I love Sebastian, which is true, I very much love Sebastian, but the minute I call him my favorite, I have like another 200 voices in my head going, you're a bastard. So don't do that to me, please. My favorite color is purple. My favorite person in the world is sitting right over there in the corner. Thank you. So yeah, keep the questions fresh. If you know what the answer is, don't ask. If you've seen me answer the question or something similar to it, put a new spin on it. I like to be put on my toes. Also, can we please keep the requests down to a minimum? Like, don't be like, oh my God, be 4 characters in one room and have an argument. Go! Like, don't, please, don't. Don't. I don't. The string is not long enough, so please don't make me like, like I don't. Let's just talk. Let's just have a conversation like real people. Me and all 1,000 of you. And I try to pick at random, so if you have your hand up, like, please don't, if I don't pick on you, don't take it personally. It's just, I just try to be random, and I just like, you, or whatever. And for those of you sitting in the back, I will try to pick on a few of you. If you have questions, you will have to project so use your theater voice. All right, so who's got a question? Who wants to start us off? I thought I just heard him go, who is this guy? I don't know, kid. I don't know. Every day, but I don't have an answer for you. What's your question, sweetie?
There are lots of cases where female voice actors will voice boys. If you could voice a female character, who would it be?
Ooh, female character. Anybody that Colleen Klingenbeer has got a voice. Yuko from Holic. Sometimes it's known as Triple X Holic. That's not how it's pronounced, by the way. Holic. The Triple X is not pronounced. It sounds weird if you say Triple X Holic. Oh, I can't show this to my children. No, you can, actually. It's just not, whatever. Yuko, I just love that character, and I love Colleen's voice for her. Now, I say I want to play her, but that's only if Colleen wasn't available. I never want to take anyone's work away from them, especially when they're as amazing as Colleen. God, any female written by Monica Rial or Jamie Markey, because God, they know how to write, and they write the best, funniest females I've ever heard. I would love to be that charming and that amazing, or at least, get to play someone that charming and amazing. So yes, that's my answer. Who's next? Let's see. You, sir, with I see glasses and like a sleeve. You're sitting in the aisle. Yes.
Sebastian loves cats. What do you think of cats?
I love cats, but I'm a dog person. No, I love cats, but my boyfriend's allergic, so I have to get dogs, specifically Frenchies. So, thank you. Now.
Okay, because I know that watching various kinds of gag rips and so on, that when you guys record voices, is it the standard now that it's done sort of in a group with sort of these sound isolated booths? Or is it because I've heard some deliveries of like throwaway lines or gag lines, where it's the timing is so spot on that it sounds to me doesn't seem like it could be that one person recorded the line and then like the next day someone recorded the response. It seems too.
So what exactly are you asking? Is
it now the standard that voice actors sort of voice all together at the same time, or it's still...
Oh, okay, I get you. No, when we're dubbing, now there's two kinds of voice acting, broadly speaking, when you're doing like animated stuff. There is prelay and there's dubbing. Prelay is when stuff like that's made here in the States, for example, or that's made for broadcast locally. Generally speaking, nothing is animated before the actors come in. So they'll often get the cast, if not the entire cast, at least they'll do like this scene today and they'll get all the actors together. It's like an old radio play. Everyone gets there. And then the performances that they give are what the animators animate around. Frequently. It's not always the case with prelay. Sometimes they do a little bit of grayscale first and then the actors have, it's kind of a mix. But dubbing, we all record independently. We're not in the booth together. Unless it's what's called a walla session. I'll explain what a walla session is in a moment. The reason we have to record independently for each other is because the timing is so specific that there is no way to get it right. And frequently we need time to go back and like do the same line 4 or 5 times to get it to fit flaps, which is the technical term for mouth movements or animation that kind of but sort of hems in the line. So actors rarely, it's really funny, like most of us actors in the dubbing industry have worked together for years, sometimes ages and ages before we actually meet in person at a con. And we may pass each other at the studio going, oh, are you gonna work on the tie today? Cool, awesome, I just did that scene myself, cool, have fun with it. But we never ever work together unless it's a walla session. A walla session is usually just when you get a group of actors in to do background voices for like, say, a cafe scene or something. And those are sometimes a lot of fun because you get to just improv. Like, oh, we need like 5 minutes of like a crowd. So we're gonna just like loop you guys and like do it and you can say whatever you want. And kind of ridiculous. But that's the only time, generally, that you get actors in the booth at the same time to record a dub. So it's just the nature of the beast. When you've got something, when the animation is there, there's nothing you were not allowed to make any changes whatsoever to the animation, then you have to get the actors in independently. It's a different skill set because rather than getting to actually act off of each other in real time, you have to just kind of trust that you know what the other actor is going to do, or that the director will kind of keep it all together. The director has the hardest job because they have to kind of bring all these disparate elements together at different times. I mean, sometimes Brina and I, working together on, say, Spice and Wolf or Black Butler, would record weeks apart. She might be in LA for several months, and so I might do the whole show, and she might come in and do her part after I've been done for 4 or 5 weeks. It just depends on the scheduling. So luckily, Brina and I know each other very, very well, and we have a very, very good, long-standing relationship with Ian, the show's director, so he kind of knows how we're going to, he's like, oh, but he's probably going to say it like this, so kind of anticipate that in your read. And I'm like, oh yeah, good point. So it just kind of comes with the territory. So yeah, prelay is fun, but sometimes being given the freedom to act in something that hasn't been animated yet. Case in point, Borderlands 2. When I came in to do Sir Hammerlock, it was the first time I'd done any sort of real significant prelay, like several weeks worth of work in prelay land, which is weird because I was so used to having the animation and all the finished product in front of me that kind of drives your performance after a while. You get used to it. It's not, I won't say that I'm spoiled, but I'm like, oh no, I've got the music and the finished product is in front of me and I just kind of get infected by its energy, and so then I'm able to kind of focus my performance because I know exactly how everything should feel because what's there is already making me feel something. But when you're doing prelay and you just have a script and sometimes not even the concept art of what your character's going to look like, in the case of Sir Hammerlock, I had some, but he wound up looking totally different than what they did originally. So I just had to sort of do this ridiculous voice, and we had fun, but it was totally in a vacuum, with no music or anything, and they were just kind of going down the page of all these lines, and of course the writers were having great fun writing it and laughing their butts off, so I felt great, but I'm like, I feel too free. I'm like, I've been given too much freedom, and now I'm having anxiety about it. So it's kind of weird. It's a trade-off, it's a trade-off. Good question, thank you. Who's next? Yes, you.
Hi, has there ever been a time where you took a job and you replaced an actor from an existing character on a show for whatever reason, and then you had to decide do you try to match the voice that he or she had already established, or do you just try to establish your own identity for the character?
Good question. So the question is whether or not, on an existing show, not like say someone came in and was already playing this character for a couple of episodes and something happened, they couldn't continue. Yeah. It depends on why they couldn't continue. Like if the director just wasn't happy with what that actor was able to get, and it's usually then I don't have to match them because that performance is not the direction the director wanted to go. That has never happened. I've never been called in to do a job that someone else couldn't do. Or wasn't competent to do. I have had to replace actors occasionally that weren't available or had something happen, or one actor lost their voice, health reasons and stuff like that. Then it's much harder. Because it adds a whole layer. Especially as dub actors, we're already kind of, I shouldn't say competing, but as English dub actors, we're already kind of being compared to the Seiyu, which is just part of that just comes with the territory. But on top of that, if you're not only well, so-and-so was better. Oh, well, now they're replacing English actors? God, so you can't kind of win for losing. It's very rare that happens. When it comes to, sometimes, and this happens in this industry, but it's often not credited, sometimes actors will step in and replace an actor that couldn't finish for health reasons, but not take the credit for it. I know there's an example, and this is of course years ago, one of the Pink Panther movies that came out in the 70s, David Niven, who was one of the main characters, had throat cancer and couldn't do the voice anymore. So he filmed everything, but his voice was just gone, and so Rich Little, famous impersonator who could do everybody and could do a spot-on David Niven, was called in to overdub him, and no one knew it wasn't him because his impression was so good and he didn't take the credit. And David Niven sadly died a few weeks before the movie came out. So stuff like that happens, but it's relatively rare. I myself have never been called to voice match anybody, because I think I sound too like me. Everyone will be like, that's Tatum. There are friends of mine that can hear me in a crowd seat. They'll be like, oh, that's Tatum. I can hear Tatum. That Tatum's the guy in the background going, what's up? How do you know? But there are some people that know, and so sometimes the higher profile your voice is, the less likely you'll be called in. I'm sure other actors have been called in to replace me sometimes, and I'll be like, who are they? Smash their tires. I shouldn't do that because then they can't leave. Bad idea, Tatum, bad idea. So yeah, it happens occasionally, but not often. Most of the time now that we're doing simuldubs and broadcast dubs, it's a very interesting sort of new atmosphere at places like Funimation, because now we're rolling this stuff out so quickly. We're rolling it out just like traditional shows are rolled out. So every week there's something, so the actors are now on call. Time was, several years ago, especially when I started out, we'd have the entire series. It often had been out in Japan for a year or more, and then the writers never would kind of work on the whole dub at once, and then kind of it would hit the booth, and you'd have 6 episodes for each month, and you'd kind of work on it like that. But it was kind of like, oh, well, just come in when we need you for like 40 hours sometime in the next 2 months. So you kind of pick and choose. You come in for a week here, day here, whatever. Well, now it's like, we need you every week for at least X amount of hours, and we don't even know that we're going to need you yet because the episode hasn't come in yet. So you just have to be on call. So you sign now these long-term contracts to say, between this date and this date, when the show's planned to be done, I have to be available and have to make it screws with your travel. Because, like, well, you can't be gone for an entire week. You have to be available. Even you may not have any lines that week, but you have to sign the contract saying you'll be there or that you'll be available. So it's much more like traditional television, where the actors are paid to be available, which is kind of interesting. I really like it. So thank you for your question, by the way. All right, so next. You, darling, with the glasses and the hat and the buttons. And you've got a phone.
Yes.
I love when they're like, a question.
Scenario?
What's that?
Can I give you a scenario?
Can you give me a scenario?
Yeah.
You can give me one, sure.
Okay, let's say Alan and Leolie are kissing.
Oh God, you want me to do that voice. It is so hard to do that voice. Okay, can I just say, if you want me to scream as Kamui, it's hard. It wrecks my voice. So I've decided now that Kamui is much more mature about it. He's just like, Leolie, God. And that's all you get, because his voice is hard to do. They want you to scream at the top of your lungs on a Saturday when you have another day of the con and a voice session on Monday. So, sorry. Hey, but the good news is you can watch the DVDs and you can hear me do it anytime you want. It's right over and over and over again, and it sounds the same, it's dependable, it's awesome. Love you.
What was your experience writing for Danganronpa the animation?
Oh, writing for Danganronpa. Oh my God, I love Danganronpa. Do we have any Danganronpa fans in here? Yeah! I'm kind of on the side of despair. Because it's funnier. No, I love Danganronpa. It's such a weird, funny, anarchistic show with like a great aesthetic. I love the look of it. I love the drive. I love the weird, dark zaniness of it. It kind of reminds me of the Beetlejuice cartoon when I was growing up, in a weird way. Like, it reminds me of that on crack. I'm not saying I ever watched Beetlejuice on crack, I'm saying. But yeah, I really loved writing it, and Junko, crazy Junko that Jamie Marchi plays so amazingly in the Funimation dub is so much fun to write that character, because she has like a bazillion personalities that come out all like in the course of a line. She might go from being like, I got to, what are you doing? And I'm like, it's just fun to do, and her animation, as a writer, her animation is so hard to write to because it's so specific, where she's making these faces. But and I want to do things, for her dialogue to really spice it up and give you the sense of who she is. And so I want to have her say things like, "Yes, Queen," because she totally would do that. Because it's so weird, and then she's all about keeping people around her off balance. So everything about her is designed to just be like, "You thought you knew me? Boom! You know nothing, Johnson." So she kind of does all these turns, and it's so wonderful. And once, Jamie, who's one of my best friends, would like call me or like text me while she's in the booth playing Junko. She's like, "Did you write Yes, Queen?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "I love you." and I would watch the improv, and be so great. And everyone else in that show, I love the characters. I love that I got to play the principal. Because he's like dead. Like, spoilers, he like has a line and then he's a box of bones. And I'm like, well, that's my best work. And then he comes back in the season, the future, the spare arc, where I'm like, oh, he finally gets to say stuff, but we know how he's gonna end up. Sad face. But I love writing for that show. It's just so manic and so funny and so deep at the same time. Like, there's a lot going on in that show. There's layers to it. And so I try to be, as an adaptive writer, I try to be very conscious of those layers and try to leave them all in and to make sure that these characters came across so that someone that didn't speak Japanese could get the same sense of these characters by watching them in English as a Japanese person would get, like all the weird little asides and all the weird little textures and things that these characters would do. And of course, Bevins is a wonderful director. Christopher Bevins is the man that got me into this industry, incidentally. So whenever I get to write a script for him, it's always fun because I know he's going to just pull out all the big guns and make sure that it's amazing, because he's an intense director. So Danganronpa is amazing. If you haven't seen it, watch it. I know the new seasons are out. They're now like seasons. The Future and Despair arcs are awesome. I love them. And I got to work with Patrick Seitz on both of them, and I love writing with Patrick Seitz. Patrick is an amazing human being, one of the best writers I've ever I think one of the best writers, if not the best writer in the industry, and also just a really cool human being and a marvelous actor. I love people. You with the red hair and the glasses.
What was it like coming back to Black Butler for Book of Circus and Book of Murder?
You know, coming back to Black Butler is, first of all, awesome because I think Book of Circus is, in my humble opinion, I think the best of the seasons. And that's saying something because I think they're all really good. But man, think about it for a minute. When you're an actor and you play a role, especially in stuff like anime or television shows, it's very rare that you get to reprise a character because once you do the show, it's a standalone show. It comes and goes, and you know it's great. Like it's something like, for example, Kyoya in Ouran High School Host Club. That's a great show. There's only one season, and it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago. Oh well, 9 years ago. 9 years. Yeah, shut up. Those who are going, oh, it's so old. Screw you. How do you think I feel? I remember recording that, and that was a big deal for me because it was like Kyoya was one of the first roles, if not the first role I ever got that was part of something that was as huge as it was. And I had no idea what I was getting into, but the fandom is still around. How often is it that we still talk about a show that we watched 10 years ago? It's very rare that something has that kind of staying power. But I've had a lot of good fortune to work on it. But even so, my time with Kyoya, that was 10 years ago. 10 years ago. If I ever got the chance to reprise it, it'd be amazing, but I'd have to go really digging because it had been so long and I've done so much since then. I'd be like, where is he in my head? Where's my Kyoya brain? But getting occasionally to go back to the same character, like, so Black Butler's also about 8 years old, 7 years old, right? And we've gotten to go back and revisit that universe multiple times, so it's kind of cool. Like, Sebastian's always there. I always have the feeling like, well, I'm putting him to bed for a little while, but he'll be back in, like, probably 2 years. And so he's always sort of that. So he is, of all the characters I've played, he's the one I've gotten to play with the most. Over, like, he spans the hugest chunk of my career from you know, literally from, I'd say about 7 years ago when I was still kind of finding my footing to now, where it's like, oh, I've done like, you know, 3 seasons and other stuff with him and he's just always been around. He's the one character I can say that about that is still there, that I still like, oh, there might be more stuff coming on the wire because that's just the kind of show Black Butler is. It's kind of awesome because he becomes your you-know-who. You know, like he must not be named, you know who. You know what I mean? So it's really, really cool. And again, it's such a great honor to get to work on something that has that kind of staying power, because it's rare. You know, most shows just are good for what they are, but they're a flash in the pan, you know? So it's really awesome to be part of something that we still talk about, that's still relevant, that still resonates with people, even though you were 9 when it first came out. It's cool, it's cool. Next question. Let's see, more toward the back of the room. I see a guy, like in the aisle there. Yes, you just pointed to your head.
So I was wondering if there's any roles you've ever auditioned for a show that you went in and went, I'm not really a good fit for this character, I'll just wing it, see what I get. Or maybe you went for one specific character and then got asked to try for another that was totally different and you got that instead. Are there any notable examples of that?
First of all, the first example you gave happens every time I go to audition. They're always like, we'd like you to read for this, and I'm like, really? Okay, do this, and they go, perfect. I'm like, really? Okay. I mean, I don't know how I get work. I go in. I learned a long time ago to not have any clue what I'm auditioning for until I'm asked to do it. Because I made the mistake, and I'll get to your question in a moment, but to give you a little bit of backstory, when I auditioned for Kyoya in Ouran, I knew the show because I had worked on it as a time coder, which is someone who helps the writer kind of, you know, basically code. It's a long, weird process. But because of my involvement, I got to watch the first 8 episodes before the auditions hit. And so I knew the show, and I knew Kyoya, and I loved him. I was like, oh my god, if I get to audition for this, this is the guy I want to audition for. And it was the most nerve-wracking experience of my life, because you go in with such, acting is a hard life. Acting is weird and it's full of rejection. Like, the going rate is like, acting is like 9 no's followed by a maybe. And maybe you get a big, hard, like, confident yes every, like, 100 auditions. I mean, to this day, I mean, here I am. I've been doing this for the better part of 15 years now, professionally, and as a full-time voice actor, I get about, I'd say, 25 to 30 auditions a week, and I land maybe 2 roles a month. I mean, so that's a lot. I mean, that's the job. That's everyone feels that way. It's like, oh, you get tons of stuff and you audition for a lot, but you're constantly putting yourself out there, and you learn to just go, well, I'm probably not going to get this, so I'm just going to give it my best, be very professional in this little 2-minute span, and then just forget about it because I'm probably not going to get it again. So if you go into an audition with this idea of like, I have to get this character, I love him, I know this guy, you suddenly can't perform it. You know, you're just so anxious, you want it too badly. And when that happens, even if the audition is good, when you don't get it, and chances are you're not, it's that much more heartbreaking. So it's much easier to just move on to the next thing and forget everything you just auditioned for. And I learned that with Oron, because I went in and I felt like I came in and I tried to read for Kyoya, and here he's supposed to be suave and confident, definitely the dark horse of the host club gang. And I was just like, I'm like, I am just not this guy at all. I'm sorry. And I knew Caitlin. You know, Caitlin and I were friends, so this wasn't like somebody I didn't know, which is more nerve-wracking. You go into audition for a bunch of people that you've never met before, that are all watching you intently, and you're like the 18th person they've seen that hour. They're not going to be like, it's amazing. They're on their phones going, yeah, that's it. Yeah, wait, well, do that. No, it's fine. That's every audition. So I've had many examples come in where I've come in and thought, you know, I'm just going to ask the director, you know, which you know, they know my voice. What do you have an idea in mind how you want the cast to be? Where do you see me fitting? And I'll be like, oh, I'm going to read for this. And so I'll look at those 3 characters and just read them. And I just kind of let the character talk to me. Like, I'll see that when you have audition sides, you have pictures of the characters, you have example lines that you read for the director. And a description of who they are and where they fit in the story and in the dynamic of the group. And kind of get a sense. And they just kind of talk to me and they go, I'm getting like a sort of hey sort of vibe from him. So he's going to sound like this. Or I'm getting a hey vibe from him, so he's going to sound like this. And you do it and the director might be like, okay, that was a noble attempt. Can you actually do not that at all? And maybe like, pitch him higher, pitch him lower, give him some more gravel, whatever. And then you do a second take and then I walk away going, I'm going to forget everything about this because chances are I'm not going to get it. I'm always surprised and because of that, I'm always surprised when I land an audition because I think, oh, that's right, I auditioned for that. Because the minute I walk out that door, I forget everything I just did. It's the only mentally helpful way to proceed. The most surprising example of me getting a role that I felt like, wow, I would never in a million years even have asked me to audition for this was Age in Heroic Age. Which I got to work on as a writer, and then Joel McDonald, who's here this weekend, a dear friend and an amazing director, was directing it, and he held the auditions, I came in, I'm like, hey, I gotta tell you, as the writer, I just don't see me anywhere in here. I don't know that, I don't think so. So who do you want me to read for? And he's like, maybe Age. It was like 17, like, if he's a day. And I'm like, you want me to read for the young kid who's like way high pitched and like really like that's, he's like, yeah, let's hear it. And I'm like, okay, and I did it and thought, well, that's ridiculous. I should never ever have done that. And Joel, you know, just said, cool, thank you very much. And then I left, forgot about it completely. And then like a couple days later, he said, cool, so come in, you're playing Age. I'm like, what? Why? All right. And so and I did that, and I had a lot of fun with that role. And I can no longer even do that voice because it's been so long ago, and my voice has kind of settled into that much deeper tone. It happens naturally as you scream for a living. Most of us do. We get the Sabbath. That's what we call that, the Sabbath. You may start here, but by the time you're 40, you're like, hey guys, how's it going? And that's the average female in this business world. Yeah. So yeah, I realize it's a long, rambling answer, but I hope that gave you something. Next question. Let's see. This side of the room. You with the like orange bracelet on. No, the one right in front of you.
What, on days where you might not quite feel like getting out of bed or getting up and really going to the studio or going to an audition, what psychs you up and makes you motivated?
The paycheck. No, I'm not. No. Sometimes that is. I mean, sometimes it's like any job. Like you may have some days where you absolutely love it, and some days where you're like, oh man, I am just so. Oh, I just want to stay in bed with my French bulldog and just watch Netflix all day. Why do I have to do stuff? Honestly, it's not the paycheck. I mean, but as an actor, you always love getting work. You're like, yes, oh my God, I can pay rent. Yeah, yes, oh my god, I'm gonna have something other than top ramen this month. So I always love the money, you know, or I love getting paid to do something that's really, really fun. But honestly, it's just a weird, fun job. I love acting. I've acted since I was very young. I feel voice acting is very liberating if you go into it with the right mindset, because I feel like I get a chance to act more kinds of roles as a voice actor than I would ever be called on to even audition for physically, in, like, say, on stage or on camera. Because on camera and for stage, to a lesser extent, you're very much pigeonholed by your look. So if I ever decided to pursue more on camera stuff, which I might do at some point in my life, I would probably get pigeonholed playing like military guys or cops, because that's my look. You know, I'm tall and kind of, you know, built like a bank safe, and you know, have that kind of lantern jaw look. So I'd get pinned on. I'd be playing guys, sergeants, detectives, stuff like that, and that's fine. I mean, again, I would love the work. But as an actor, I'd be like, wow, I've played like 800 cops, and never once has anyone wanted me to play like a 17-year-old, you know, savage on a distant planet. You know, I would never ever get cast as that role. I would never be cast as a sleek, svelte butler, because I'm not built like Sebastian. I don't look anything like him. So it's interesting. As a voice actor, if you've got the vocal range, they don't care what you look like. They don't even care how you dress. That's another great thing about voice acting. If I don't feel like putting any work into my appearance, they don't give a damn. I had taken my pants off in the middle of the session, just because I'm like, I am just not comfortable right now, guys. Excuse me. And they're like, oh, all right, that's fine. Just do that. They do not care. It's a true story, by the way. Actually, I did that to mess with Ian. We were recording Black Butler in the book of circus action. No, excuse me. The first season. And I had never worked with Ian as a director before, and over the course of our doing that show, I was really just so impressed and just so delighted at how weirdly serious Ian was as a director. Because if you know Ian as a person, he's such a like, hey, how's it going? La la la. I mean, that's my impression, by the way. But he's just a happy-go-lucky, kind of weird, goofy, hyper guy. But in the booth, he's like, okay, do this one more time. We're going to really want to draw. It needs to be a very dark line this time. There's a lot of this. This and a lot of I've known Ian forever, and I'm like, no, I agree, and it should totally be darker, let's do that. So I would have fun with him, and I realized when he was recording me, now you have to imagine there's this big wall of glass that separates the sound booth from the console room, which were the director and the engineer. And usually they're the only two in there, and so that's usually the case with Black Butler, because Ian was like, and Ian would like have it all dark. Like maybe like a couple little lights, and then we couldn't have candles. We'd have little lights for mood. Like, okay. And that'd be great fun, but then the booth would be all dark. But I noticed there's a big monitor in front of Ian that has the script and the animation in front of him, and he's watching, and he would typically just be so focused on that I realized I could do anything I wanted behind the glass, and he wouldn't see me. Now Kevin, the show's engineer, who's sitting right over here, had a similar monitor, but he was also usually sitting back like this. So he could see everything I was doing. Kevin and I had an understanding, and one afternoon I'm like, I'm just gonna do this because Ian is cracking me up with how dreadfully serious he is and how he's just looking right at that monitor. Not even looking up at me, not once, just going, okay, so do that. And I can hear him in my headphones, but I just see the top of his head. I'm like, okay, I have to do this. And I had specifically worn boxer shorts that day that were like silks, like skull and crossbone. Seemed appropriate, right? So I was like, I'm just gonna and I would do it, I would inch my pants off during a take so the mic would pick it up. It'd be like, okay, blah, 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 something, Butler, if I couldn't do, the lines, and swish. And then Kevin would look up like, what is it? And Kevin would just like, without missing a beat, would go like, yeah, we got a weird sound in there, Tim. We'll have to get that again. I really love to read, but those are weird. Let's get it again for a second. All right. Blah, 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 line, Butler, blah, 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 swish, swish, swish. What is that noise, Kevin? What is that noise? I don't know. Let's see if we can. And just never looking up, never. And I finally got my pants all the way up. I'm sitting there in this booth and I realized it's kind of cold in here. This was not the best idea. Because these boxer shorts are very breathable. And I'm just kind of sitting there, just my boxers now. I mean, I have a shirt on, but just my boxers otherwise. And he has not seen it. I'm kind of just going like for the next 2 hours before our next break, just sitting there like this the whole time. Kevin's trying really hard not to be like. He's like, what are you laughing at, Kevin? What's going on? Nothing, I just, just texted me this joke. Yeah, it's a long story. I'm ready when you are. And I'm in the booth going. So I'm finally like, Ian, I gotta go to the bathroom. Can we take a bathroom break? He's like, yes, sure, let's have a bathroom break. Yeah, we'll take a 10. So I pass right by him, he doesn't notice. Kevin just watches me go out into like Funimation proper with nothing but my boxers on. He's like, himself a little alcohol. But I would go out, and seriously, and I walked to the bathroom, he came back, passed by Mike McFarlane, he was like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, we're recording Black Butler. He's like, I go back in, and Ian finally sees me as I'm walking back in. I'm like, my hip is right at the level of his face. It was like, and now I'm over here, and he's like, cool, so I'm thinking next time, you're like, what? And that is my favorite Ian story. Which there are many on Black Butler, because it's like every time we record back to Black Butler, all of us would feel like, do you feel like we just got back from like a camping trip, guys? I feel like we've been together in the wilderness for like 6 weeks. Like grown like beard down to here, like a deer carcass on our shoulders. All right, guys, good day's work. We'll see you tomorrow. Like, it just had that effect on us because we were so involved. Yes, you.
So I want you to ask the voices in your head this question.
All right, voices in my head. Are you listening? Okay.
Answer this either in character or out of character, whichever you prefer. Okay. What does Kaneki smell like?
What does Kaneki smell like? I'm so sorry, but I couldn't even begin to describe it to a plebe like you. That's another example. Wait. That's another example of me freaking out the people that have to watch me do that. Because I got to direct myself on the hanky scenes. And we had a new engineer that week. His name was Dominic, and he was awesome, but he didn't know anything about the show. He's a great engineer, but Mike's like, cool, you got this scene, I'm gonna go take you, just go ahead and direct yourself, because he hired me as a sub-director on it. He was like, cool, you're gonna be Skiam as well, so I'll have you direct some of his key scenes, because you know this guy. Monica kind of wrote the adaptation for you. Monica was my neighbor at the time, and she'd be like telling him, she's like, oh my god, this guy like has the best fashion sense, and it's like purple and blue and red, and he speaks French. It's like the Japanese were daring you not to play him. So like that was an audition where I just walked through and like, go home, bitches, I nailed it. Not true. But I'm sitting there, and I would do this scene. I'm like, and I would watch the scene in the booth and kind of direct Dominic, the engineer, on how to like, okay, no, just chase me on this one because he's going to be all over the map. These levels are going to be all over the place. So make sure the safety track's on, and just kind of chase me and don't watch me. He's like, what do you mean? Like, no, you're looking up. Don't look up. Just look down. Just look at the monitor. Don't look at the glass. I do not want you to see what I'm about to do. And I did it. We did a couple of takes, and each time I did things that I can't describe. Because I just felt like I needed to get into character for it. Now, I didn't like do anything like too weird, but it would be weird if you just saw a grown man doing this in the middle of nowhere. You'd be like, what is wrong with him? And indeed, we got done with the take, and I was like, kind of sweating because it was so energetic. I'm like, how we do? Did that fit? And I look, and Dominic is just like, Tatum, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm like, I told you not to lie! And he was like, no, that's fine. I've learned my lesson. And we moved on. He's like, oh my god, is that as weird as it gets in this show? I'm like, oh, it gets so much weirder. He's like, man, the hanky... And he talked about the hanky scene for like a week, going, man, the hanky scene, guys, the hanky scene. I'm like, I did not know what I signed up for. I just started here, and they throw this at me? Oh my god. I'm used to recording musicians. And then the next Hank scene came around. And he goes, oh, hell no! We're gonna do that again? I'm like, so that was that interesting. Next question, purple.
What's your favorite Disney show? But answer that question.
My favorite Disney show? I hate favorites. I don't have a favorite Disney show. My favorite Disney movie?
Yeah, okay.
I love Sleeping Beauty. Was that the right answer? She's like, basic. You in the aisle. I see like you got like a brown coat on. Yeah, you just point to yourself. I didn't get what the question.
Sorry, this is my sister. Her and I have been fans of you for like a really, really long time. So we.
Ouch.
Sorry. But so we know that you like Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And we're Shakespeare nerds too. So we were wondering, if out of all of Shakespeare's works, what character you would like to play.
I love everyone like, oh, the gauntlet has been thrown. Like, challenge. Oh, she ripped out Shakespeare. That was my favorite reaction ever. Just Shakespeare being brought up. Everyone's like, oh my God. Now it's uncomfortable. I'm like, I don't know, which Shakespeare character can I do in my boxers? There's so many great Shakespeare characters. I would love to play Iago from Othello because I think he's the best, most craziest, nihilistic villain. Next to Edmund, which I would like to play as well, Edmund and King Lear. I would love to play King Lear someday. But that's a difficult role. And I would love, my absolute favorite, I love Shakespeare, and I love reading Shakespeare, I love watching Shakespeare perform, and I love interpreting Shakespeare, everything about Shakespeare I love. I'm a huge nut for Shakespeare. But I mean, I could go through the list of characters I want to play. Obviously Hamlet, everyone wants to play Hamlet, everyone wants to play, Prospero. Why not? I mean, they're great characters. They define what we think of as characters. Even if we don't know those characters, we know those characters. They're in us, all of us now. Like whether you've read the play or not, you know who Hamlet is, and someone could start saying a line, you'd be like, that's from Hamlet. Weird, I've never even seen it. But I just know. So somehow Shakespeare just encoded it into our DNA at some point down the line, and we're all of us, all the Shakespeare characters in there. But my favorite, if I had to pick a favorite, and again, I'm very uncomfortable with picking favorites, but Sir John Falstaff is like the funniest, most amazing character ever. Like he is like this larger than life drunk. So I've got lots of practice. But I mean, I love everything he stands for. He's just life. He is everything. He's Hamlet. I love Hamlet, but Hamlet is so dark and so brooding and so like just nothing matters in the vengeance, and it's wonderful. But like Falstaff is the kind of guy that you put him in a room with Hamlet, and they're tense, excoriating intelligence like Hamlet. He can just break everything down. You put him in a room with Falstaff for 10 minutes and he will walk out going, Falstaff is just the guy like, you take yourself way too seriously, have a drink. Ha ha ha! Like, he's just that kind of guy, and he has such, I don't know, he's godlike in his power to just bring light into every situation. Even though, to describe him, he's an absolute scoundrel. He's someone you're like, I would never want to be in a room with this guy. He's a thief, and a liar, and a drunk, and a cad, and he's the most charming individual ever written in the English language. Because he's just funny, and he just doesn't take himself or anybody else seriously. And I love those kinds of characters, but Falstaff is sort of the granddaddy of all of them. So maybe one day when I'm old, because he should be old, can play him, and hopefully I won't be as big as he needs to be. They'll have to pad me. He's a big guy. They make lots of references to him being like the size of the earth. And he's big. But I love him, and I love his relationship to Hal, who becomes Henry V. So that's my answer. Falstaff. Let's see. Let's go with the gun. I see someone with a gun. Better. Me. What's that?
Could you tell us a ghost story?
Can I tell you a ghost story? Ooh.
Yeah.
I do have tons of ghost stories. I collect them. I like real ghost stories. Most of them are really long. How much time do I have? Okay. I got 15 minutes, so I'll tell a quick one. This is the quickest version of the story I've ever told. When I was in high school, I lived kind of out in the country, and a bunch of my friends found this, like there was a wooded area, it was like miles and miles, just tracts and tracts of land where we just hiked, and there was no roads back there. You'd have to park your car on like a rock road, a little park, and then hike it up in these little hills. And it was wonderful, it was great, it was kind of our getaway. This is the age before phones, before internet, so if you were out in the woods, you were out in the woods. But that was us, we grew up doing that, so somebody found a little cabin back there. It was a very modern looking cabin, it wasn't like the creepy, like, Evil Dead cabin. It was like a really cool, like, mid-century modern cabin. Somebody answer your phone! I'm so embarrassed for you. No, my phone's gonna go off. Damn it, I'm sorry. So somebody found this cabin and it had been abandoned. Like somebody had lived out there and studied out there because there were books everywhere and this person was clearly a scholar, a philosopher. It was really neat. And we liked it. It had been kind of vandalized. A lot of the windows had been broken out and it had just been disused for at least 10, 15 years. And all of us thought, this is kind of a cool little place that we know about and clearly no one's coming back here. So we kind of spent the summer fixing it up a little bit as best we could as kids. So we came out there and we just broke out all the windows so that there was no pro glassing, but we couldn't replace them. But we took care of like some of the joists and the hangers and stuff like that just to kind of fix it up and make it safe. And we spent weekends out there. We would kind of camp and then this would be our base of operations. There was no power out there, so we'd have to bring little lamps and like spotlights and batteries and like boom boxes that ran on batteries. I mean, who remembers boom boxes? Like 5 people were like, I do. Oh, sorry, my hand. What it feels like sometimes. We're like, oh yes. I feel like I should be in a rocking chair. And one night we went out. And there was a big party. We decided to have a big party out there, so a bunch of us just hiked out there. There must have been like a dozen or more of us out there, and we were having a good time. And we had music, and we had libations and all sorts of fun stuff. Just we were country kids, so we were hanging out. And out from the woods, that were kind of near, the house itself was in a little clearing. And out on the other side, like the woods that kind of came up to about maybe 20 yards past the back little portico, we started hearing this noise. And we became aware that it had been going on for a while, and we'd just been kind of talking and chatting and listening to music, so it had just been there, but we hadn't been paying attention. But we're like, does anyone else hear that noise? It's been going on for a while. And I can't describe it, except that it sounded like a weird kind of moaning. But it was weird. It didn't quite sound human, it didn't quite sound like an animal, and it kept coming at regular intervals. Yeah, like that. Oh my God, it's here! It's found me! Smart ass. But it was this weird noise we kept hearing, and it was coming at regular intervals, and I was like, what the hell is that? So we cut everything off, and we're like, what is going on? And then someone made the brilliant suggestion, oh my God, that sounds like, maybe that's a person that's like fallen in some old well back there, because there's old little homesteads back there that no one's seen in years, and there could be some well or some pit that someone's fallen into, and they're just kind of yelling help at regular intervals, hoping to God someone will hear them. And so once somebody said that, we're like, crap, now we have to go in there. So about 6 of us got, we had a machete with us to clear a path with. I make it sound like total badasses. We were not. This is where, if you lived in the country, this is, how you lived. And so we had a machete, and we had a couple of lanterns and a couple of spotlights, and about 6 of us did, we fanned out and, went and cleared a path into the woods, and where the sound would come, and it was like, it's coming from over here, but we can't tell how far away it is. It could be a mile away, it could be right here, because it's such a weird sound. I got no judgment for distances. And we're calling out to this person, this thing, whatever, and we'd never get an articulate answer, but he would always call back. And all of us were like, hello, can you help us? Can you see us? Do you see the lights? We're coming. Just there we are. We're trying to find blah, 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 blah. And we're keeping each other in sight, too, so, nothing happens. And then eventually we get to a point where we can no longer see the house and everyone that we left back on the back porch. And as we walk a little further in, we hear the noise here, and then all of us are like, I swear it's right over. It's got to be maybe 20 yards, maybe 30 yards that way. So let's clear a path. And no sooner do we hear the noise and think that we hear the same noise now coming from here. And we're like, nope. And then this one started kind of moving and came from over here. And now this one goes over here. And one of us goes, guys, we're being ambushed. It's like we're being ambushed. All right, well, bye, guys. We're going. And so we went back to the porch and we're like, guys, we don't know what the hell that was, but there's 2 of them out there. And I'm like, what do you mean there's 2 of them? We only ever heard the one. We've been hearing you guys, and we've been hearing the one. We're like, what do you mean you only? Dun, dun, dun. So there's this weird occurrence, and all of us, we left. We left that night. Okay, guys, we're going to hike back on the trail in front of the house. We're going to go back to our cars because I didn't want to stay here anymore. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning and we were going to like hike through the woods because this thing was like, we didn't want our souls eaten. So we left. And we never really went back there at night again. We were like, I don't want to go out to the weird, like, freaky cabin that's probably now haunted by the guy. He was like, maybe he was just saying thank you for fixing up there. You're welcome. I don't know. So like 2-3 years later, a friend of mine and I were going out to his parents' place. They had a ranch out like about 30 miles like northwest. I'm telling you like you care what direction, but it was like 30 miles in a totally different direction from where this had happened years before. And we showed up, it was late at night, and his dad, who was an ex-Green Beret, I might add, was sitting on the back porch with a shotgun in a lawn chair. Like, this guy was a signature badass. Like, this guy was like the coolest guy. He used to like walk around, like, he had a little sword cane, and he would like hobble around, and he'd be like, what? He'd be like, schmack, and like, he'd be like, ha ha ha, and he's like, happy Halloween, and you know, whatever. And you'd be like, okay, that's the kind of guy he was. Well, now he's out sitting at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's sitting on this lawn chair with his gun, just sitting there wide awake, like keeping watch, like soldier style. And like my buddy was like, Pop? He's like, you boys going back there in those woods tonight? No, sir. Good. End of discussion. Next morning, we take him to breakfast and we're like, what was that about last night? My buddy was like, do we have poachers? It's because they raised animals out there. He's like, and he tells us a story about how he'd been out in the back, like feeding the livestock and started hearing from the woods this noise, this weird noise coming at regular intervals. It sounded like a moaning, but kind of like a weird, he described it as being like a wildcat, that if you've ever heard like a panther or a jaguar scream, they kind of make that noise. He said only it was louder and longer and it was coming in weird. It almost sounded mechanical, like someone was playing tape. He's like, I've been in the jungles of Nam and I've never heard anything like that in my life. So he's like, well, I thought, well, maybe it's someone trapped in a well. Right? So now I'm convinced this creature is like, feeds on human beings and that's how it lures them. So it's only like a few evolutionary steps away from, help, Timmy's trapped in the well. But he said the same thing happened. He went out into the woods with he had like a little pistol with him at the time, like his not shotgun, his other gun, and his spotlight, and he's like, hey, can I have, and he said, here's it over here, and he here's it over here. It was doing this thing, and he's like, nope, screw that, you're not trapped in a well. So I went back and then just spent the rest of the night just, it went away after a few hours, but I was not about to like go inside. And that's the end of the story. Never found out what it was. Weird, right? We've only got 3 minutes left, so I'm going to try to do a lightning round. So if you've got a question, try to make it a quick one, then I can be like, bam, bam, bam. I know it's on me. So, the stuff.
What character do you most relate to that you
really all of them, because they're all me. I mean, they're really me. That's what acting is like, the character is not some magical garment that you put on, and I'm sure cosplayers feel the same way about this. The clothes are awesome, but they're just what gets you there. The character is not a garment, the character is you, and the garment is just what brings that out of you. And so they're all me, and so I relate to all of them because that's my job, isn't it? So, thank you. Good one. Sword.
How bad do you want to see on Soul?
Best pickup line.
Best pickup line? Oh, that's for another panel. Peanut butter.
What was your first professional acting?
My first professional acting gig was as a 9-year-old kid. I landed the role of the rocking horse in a production of The Velveteen Rabbit on stage. Because I was the tallest kid. No, I wasn't 9, excuse me, I was 11, not 9. No, 11, I was 11. My first paying gig as an actor was at 11. Yay! You.
Do you love us?
I love you. What kind of question is that? No, seriously, like, in all seriousness, like, I have a really fun job, but like, without you guys, I'm just a crazy guy in a padded room making funny voices. You guys are getting to come to cons and like, just be around you awesome people with your great energy in this wonderful community of nerds, which is totally my tribe, is the single best part about what I get to do for a living, and I don't know of a single voice actor that doesn't agree with me on that. You with the TARDIS hat.
Most embarrassing moment.
Most embarrassing moment. Oh God, I've lost count. I passed out in the booth while screaming. Yeah, which I just found. I thought that made me special, and it just makes me like a part of an exclusive club called Anybody That's Worked on Dragon Ball. Yes, you just stood up.
Michael Tatum.
That's me.
I love you.
I love you. I love What's that?
Your signature voice.
This is it. Me going, hey!
When you're acting Kira from Otomo High School Hosta, how did she find that signature voice?
I think Kyoe was just me. Kyoe was just kind of me as if I'd been a rich kid. And I got him. I think that's what drew me to him in the first one. I was talking earlier about auditioning for him. I really liked him because he was really the mysterious kind of, I don't want to say least likable one, but he was certainly the one that you're like, what is going on in his head? I do not, he's a little sinister. And I got him immediately. I was like, oh, I maybe not as an actor, but as an audience member going, I know him. I think Kyoe was just me, and Kate was like, yeah, it's just you, there's no acting involved. You with the kind of teal, yes, you have glasses.
Okay, so I'm kind of trying to go into voice acting too, and I want to know what's, in your opinion, who's the most out of your sort of range, unique kind of character that you've done?
Oh God, Age from Heroic Age was probably the highest character I've ever played in terms of the highest character. I mean, the highest pitched. The highest pitched character, totally against my totally whatever, and. I played a guy named Burnaby in Empire of Corpses, which I'm proud to say, most of the people that know me really well, and even the ones that know my voice really well, didn't pick out that it was me. And that felt really good, and that was a very carefully crafted voice because I didn't want to be recognized. Not because I didn't love the role, I'm telling you about it now because it was great, but I really wanted it to be special. So, Empire of Corpses, if you haven't seen that movie, oh my God, watch it, it's crazy good. Okay, remember, you.
What did you have for breakfast?
What did I have for breakfast? 2 eggs, sunny side up, sausage, potatoes, and steel-cut oatmeal. Everyone's like, ooh. Yeah, I got rooms over there. Thank you. You.
Me?
Yes.
How long have you been with your boyfriend?
I have been with my boyfriend for 3 years today. Top hat.
If you could live in a fantasy world, which fantasy world would it be?
Can I just live in the TARDIS? I feel like that would take me to any fantasy world I've ever. You in the aisle, I see you. Do you have glasses on? You're right behind the girl with the toboggan. Yes, you just pointed to yourself. You just did this. Yes, you.
How do you think France would order a Starbucks coffee?
He says, or bitch, give me a coffee. I think you could order a coffee, you would just be like, what do you want? Not this! Yeah, YouTubers love me. Purple hair again.
What's next for Black Butler?
What's what?
Next for Black Butler.
I don't know. I don't know what's next for Black Butler. Hopefully something. I'm an actor, I'm the last person to know. Honestly. You, with glasses.
What brand of deodorant do you use?
What brand? Shit. I don't use shit. I don't use shit. There's some teacher to get close to me. I use Old Spice. I support that ad campaign. Hold on.
Can you give us a motivational quote?
A motivational quote? Picture someone skiing off a cliff. And add to that below, like a poster, the words, mistakes hurt. But if you make them big enough, the pain only lasts for a second. Are you a Sebastian? Sebastian, yes.
If you could voice another character in Black Butler, who would it be?
Oh, that's tough because everyone's so amazing. I'd be Pluto. Yes, right there. Yes, you just point. Yes, you're like me. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right.
Put your water bottle.
Can I what?
Put your water bottle.
Do the water bottle. Put the water bottle.
Who likes Ghoul? Nick.
Me? Oh, okay.
You're like, who am I? Oh.
Have you ever done anything with your voice just to mess with people, like drive-through or anything like that?
All the time. Yeah, I used to go through drive-thrus as several people. And actually order several meals just so I could do the joke. An expensive prank. I go to the drive-thru and like, you know, like 4 people are in the car and they just like try to order over each other and I would just do that and I would be like France and Andrew with like Sebastian and like, excuse me, I would like to think about 6 and like, no, give me like, no, is the shake machine working tonight? Because last night it was broken. Shut up, I'm trying to order. I just want number 3, but like with no, just dry and mayo, please. And then like do all of that and then come around and have them like, here's your order. Thank you. Thank you guys, you've been awesome. That's all the time I have for you. You've been amazing. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being so patient in line. There is an 8:30 panel tonight. Hang on, it's 8:30 VA Unfiltered. So it makes it sound like they're moving pulp and chunks. There might be. So I've got to run. So go have fun, and we'll see you in the 8:30 panel if you are, I guess, inclined and old enough.